Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of CLS Live, a live stream series presented by the publishers of Contact Lens Spectrum. I'm Jason Jedlicka, and it's great to be back behind the mic with you again for this episode. As you know, each program, I or one of my guest hosts have the chance to chat with leaders in the world of contact lenses, finding out what's going on in the industry from their perspective and with their insights. We talk about new and future products, the latest research, worldwide trends in prescribing, and even bring you updates from the floor of contact lens conferences. So today I get to welcome back a previous guest to kick off a new series on the future of contact lenses, Dr. Lyndon Jones. As a refresher, Dr. Jones is a professor at the School of Optometry and Vision Science, university professor and director of the Center for Ocular Research and Education, or CORE, at the University of Waterloo. His research interests primarily focus on the interaction of novel and existing contact lens materials with the ocular environment, dry eye, and the development of novel materials for ocular drug delivery. He has authored over 450 refereed and professional papers, one textbook, given over 1,000 invited lectures at conferences worldwide in over 40 countries. He is a fellow of the Royal Society of Canada, only the second optometrist ever to be granted this distinction. So, Dr. Jones, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here today to start us on this new series about the future of contact lenses.
You're very welcome, Jason. Thanks for the opportunity to come and do your job.
Yeah, I never mind that. So I'm sure you'll do fantastic. So let's talk about this and what we're going to find out in the next few weeks as you go through this series. When we mention the future of contact lenses, for me, I think of two different things. I think about, what kind of contact lenses we prescribe now, soft GPs, et cetera, and how we do practice. And I think, how will things evolve with our current products, for example, and change in the years to come that make contact lens wearing healthier and safer for our patients, give them better comfort, vision, et cetera. But then there's also the flip side that I sometimes think about, the sci-fi aspect of contact lenses and how might contact lenses do things in the future that they don't do now, or they're just scratching the surface. And this is drug delivery. This is heads-up displays, health monitoring, all the stuff we see in the futuristic movies. So with the series, where will you be taking us? Are we going to talk about both of these concepts, or more one or the other, or where are we going to be going with this?
And that's a beautiful introduction, actually, Jason, because you're right. When we think about the future of contact lens, I think the sexy stuff is the stuff that we see popping up on, news releases and some of these journal articles about, using contact lenses for head-up displays and drug delivery and telling you whether, how your diabetes is doing. Those are great things, but all of them are going to be relatively small markets, certainly for a long period of time. And I think those are definitely futuristic ones. There's people working on them, but in terms of them being commercialized, I think that's going to be a way off. What we're going to do in this series is we're actually going to divide up each of the 3 episodes into 2 sections. The first being the now. What's the future for contact lenses now? What can practitioners who are out there fitting lenses think about best practices? What are the new iterations of lenses that people are working on? What are the things that we can think about to optimize comfort, vision, safety with contact lenses using the products that we have now, or the ones that are soon going to come into practice? And then at the back end of each of those episodes, we're going to look at exactly that, the kind of really more futuristic things. So we're going to cover both of those episodes, because I think that the sexy stuff is a little way off yet.
Yeah, for sure. And so that's great, because again, as much as the sexy stuff sounds fun, for most of us, prescribing contact lenses happens several times a day.
Exactly.
And the more relevant to us, probably as practitioners in the short term and near future, is what could we be doing better, or what can we look forward to being able to prescribe in the next few years, just for our current lens wearers and those who want to wear vision correcting lenses, which is the bulk of it, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's important. I think, listeners who will tune into those 3 episodes will see exactly that. It'll be, what's best practice now? How do we think about, I've got a patient in my chair now who's maybe not as comfortable with the lenses as they could be. What things do I need to think about? Do I need to look at their tear film? Do I need to look at how the surface is wetting? Are there other opportunities, other lens options, other frequencies of replacement, different solutions? what are the things that I can do now to make this patient more comfortable, see better, or be safer in their contact lenses? So, listeners will definitely get some updates on that for sure.
Okay. And when we talk about current lens wear, future improvements, we can talk about comfort, as you mentioned already.
Yep.
Obviously, we all want our patients to experience optimal comfort because that's the number one reason why people drop out. So we
Yep.
obviously have lots of strides to make there. Ocular surface health, corneal health, eye health in general. What things we can look forward to that will make contact lens wearing a safer experience. And then vision. There's certainly. I mean, I'm presbyopic. I'd love, advances in visual correction with contact lenses so that I can see better. Is there anything that I missed in that? Is there anything else about our contact lens experience that we also want to talk about beyond those three things?
Well, those are certainly the three major things that we're going to touch in these episodes. When we look at the major reasons, and you've just hit the nail on the head, the major reasons why patients fail with contact lenses today in order are failures with comfort. That's the number one reason for dropout. Then vision. And then the third one being complications with the lenses. So we're going to address each of those in order. In terms of some of the other things that we'll touch upon, another reason why people drop out is handling, particularly with new lens wearers. New lens wearers, it's a major reason why people end up dropping out of lenses. So that's something to think about if you do have a patient who's new to lenses. It's important that we think about not just their vision and comfort, but hey, how are you doing with putting those lenses in and out? Sometimes people get a bit frustrated by that, and so they drop out. So that's some of the things we're going to think about. Some of the other things, again, when it comes to looking at why patients have complications with contact lenses that we will be addressing, things like antibacterial surfaces. What do we have that's soon coming down the pipe maybe that can look at trying to reduce things like bacterial binding that we know are key to infections and inflammation, and the ocular surface as well. So no matter how good you are, if as a product, unless your ocular surface is optimal and healthy, you can have the best contact lens and solution in the world. That lens isn't going to be successful. So we'll be touching on those as well. And those, I think, are things that's important when you've got that patient in your chair today to think about those, because those all play into this dropout issue.
Yeah, I hadn't even really thought about that, but there are so many ancillary aspects of contact lens fitting and prescribing. And we think about always wanting to make the lenses better. But is there room for better solutions? Or, of course, now with dailies, maybe not. But are there eye drops, or are there other therapies that we can add to the contact lens wearer's experience that might be a more cost-effective way of enhancing any of these than changing the lenses themselves?
Exactly. And again, it's interesting because whenever you survey practitioners about, okay, patient comes in, they're uncomfortable with the lens, what's the number one thing you think about doing? Number one is change the lens. Maybe the lens is actually as good as it gets. Maybe that's not the problem. It's the underlying ocular surface. And we've certainly got a better understanding these days, particularly since TFOS Ds 2, about the role of the ocular surface in the success of contact lens wear. So that's something to look at, because unless you sort that out, you can change the lens as many times as you like. It's really not going to help very much. So those are important things that we will be talking about.
Yeah, I think that's really exciting, because I think, again, it's easy to overlook that.
Yeah.
And so, priming the eye health for accepting a lens, to the best of its ability is probably a great other aspect. So, so changing to the other side of the topic, let's get back to the sexy stuff for a minute. Let's talk about why contact lenses always seem to be a target for this kind of sci-fi technology. Like, again, there's so many movies that have been made where everything is in their vision. You see their vision, all this heads up computerized display. What is it about contact lenses that makes them so good for vision, or for comfort, if you will, or for drug delivery, health monitoring? What is it about the contact lenses that makes them a prime candidate for applications like this?
Well, if we think about things like monitoring of your health, I mean, the whole wearables thing, so many people these days have Apple Watches or Fitbits. They give them all kinds of information about, heart rate, blood pressure, these kind of things. But they're quite invasive. You do have to wear them, and they're quite heavy sometimes. So actually having a contact lens that's on the ocular surface and actually can look at a variety of biological biomarkers would be fantastic. And we do have now ways of being able to detect those biomarkers, but the technologies that we have at the moment are large scale and they need large amounts of fluid. That's not the situation with the tear film. Tear film is only a couple of microliters. So that's why people are beginning to look at that, because its ability to be able to detect biomarkers in the tear film, and there's almost as many biomarkers in the tear film as there are in blood. So if we could do that with low volumes, that would be fantastic. When it comes to one of the other things, you're looking at virtual reality. Now, virtual reality is a big deal. We've got Apple, we've got Amazon. All of these people are working on head-up displays. Apple have just come out with a new head-up display. Costs an arm and a leg, but huge. These huge things that you have to put on your head. But if you could miniaturize that and actually have a contact lens that overlaid over the visual environment that you're looking at some kind of display that you wanted to look at, that would be huge. So much better and so much less invasive than these concepts. And the other thing that's really interesting, of course, is technologies where, for example, you're wearing a lens that someone's unaware of. And I mean, one of the things I'm certainly very interested in is facial recognition.
Mm-hmm.
If I could have a contact lens that could recognize someone's face and tell me what their name is, that would be so cool, because I am terrible.
Yes.
Names, like terrible.
Same.
So that would be fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And of course, there's all kinds of military type applications that people are interested in that's helping support some of that as well. So I think the very platform for a contact lens is great for biomaterials, biosensing, and then also the concept of being able to overlay a display is kind of really what's driving those two things. And at the same time as we're doing that, we're getting miniaturization now of things like batteries, and we're getting much more biocompatible materials. You put all those things together and, really you've got a great way of being able to look into the future. But it's hard. It took us a long time to get the world's first drug delivering contact lens with the TheraVision product. And if you back off on that and say, well, okay, so we can deliver a drug. What if we could deliver a comfort agent? Let's make it a lot easier. Let's take a contact lens that could actually elute something that makes that lens more comfortable. And that's the kind of near-term thing that I think we're much closer to seeing, that again, we'll be discussing in these episodes.
Yeah, and obviously contact lenses already do that to an extent but it's mainly with lubricants and things like that. So you're taking a lens that's been, fabricated and soaked in a lubricant, and it's going to time release that a little bit as I'm wearing it to help with comfort. But are there other things, like you said, that can help with the ocular surface health to make the lenses even more wearable?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's funny because it came to mind, I was watching a movie the other night from probably the early 80s, and it was even a retro story on something in the 60s or 70s, and they had this huge warehouse sized room full of computers.
Yeah.
And you think, all of those computers, everything that whole room was doing right now probably could be done on one computer.
Oh, for
and
sure.
So the idea
phone.
Yeah. And so the idea of being able to say this large display wearable thing that's bulky and whatnot, to eventually see that be able to be made into a contact lens, I don't think that's unrealistic. It's really just, the hows and whys. And like you said, I think it does slow things down a little bit, because when you put a device on an eyeball, you're talking about a different level of risk than wearing it on the outside. And so that's what probably slows things down. You've got to go through FDA stuff, which you wouldn't have to do with something that wasn't worn on the surface of the eye. So
exactly. The other interesting thing also is this whole concept about individualized medicine. There's such a move now within medicine to be able to say, well, giving this drug at this concentration for every patient is not what we need. So when you think about that for contact lenses, how cool would it be if you could do 2 or 3 simple tests? We'll take a sample of your tears, we'll do this test and this test that are non-invasive tests, and it'll spit out exactly what contact lens material and frequency of replacement or solution combination would be best for you. And I think, again, that's another very exciting opportunity for clinicians in practice to be able to have this individual medicine concept. And the final thing relates to, again, something that we're seeing more and more these days, and that's the use of 3D printing. Again, how cool would it be if you could take a print of, you could take, well, as we know, we already can, take a very sophisticated image of what the ocular surface looks like. If you could then send that to a room in your back office that could 3D print a scleral lens for you that is perfect for that ocular surface. How cool would that be? And I don't think that's actually that far away. I think we're starting to get to that point where 3D printing now is really, really inexpensive. And so that's another thing that we're talking about as well.
Sounds very interesting, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. Can you give us just a real brief introduction into maybe who the guests and you're going to be having coming up in these next 3 episodes, I believe?
It is 3 episodes indeed. So we've really been really very lucky actually to book the people that we've got. So Episode one is going to be covering comfort. That's going to be on Thursday, August the 3rd at noon Eastern time. So Thursday, August 3rd, noon Eastern time. We've got James Wolfson. James is a superstar. He's the professor of optometry and head of the School of Optometry at Aston University. He's got an incredible skill set. He started off in research in low vision. He moved on to contact lenses, dry eye, and myopia. His background is incredible. He's currently the academic chair of the BCLA, subcommittee chair for TFOS DEWS 2, so that's the tear film link in there. He's IMI's chief scientific officer and was joint chair of the white paper, so covers a truckload of stuff. James is going to be addressing the issue around comfort, say on Thursday, August the 3rd. Next up, we have infection and inflammation, and for that we've got a double whammy. We've got Loretta Shotker-Flynn, who's based in the Department of Ophthalmology at Case Western, and Deborun Dutta, who's also at Aston University from the UK. They're going to be talking about infection and inflammation. That's on Thursday, September the 21st at 1 p.m. Eastern. And then our third one is going to be on, again, a very important topic, which is that of vision. We've managed to secure the services of Carol Maldonado Codina. Carol's based at Eurolens Research in the UK at the University of Manchester, and she's going to be covering all kinds of information about vision. And again, a lot of it's actually going to be thinking about what we can do now, but also she'll be looking at some of those futuristic issues too. And that's going to be on Thursday, the 5th of October. So 3 consecutive months: comfort, health and infection, inflammation, and vision. I'm really looking forward to being the host for those. And thanks, Jason, for giving me the opportunity to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that sounds like truly an all-star lineup for people who are experts in knowing what the future of contact lenses holds for us. So those should be great episodes, and you've got the dates and times already picked out. That's fantastic.
Yep.
Well, we are going to draw this episode to a close, and I'll hand off again the hosting duties to you for the next few episodes on the future of contact lenses, talking about comfort, health, and vision, and what the future is for each of those topics when it comes to contact lenses. I know in these next few weeks, we'll go a lot deeper into the topics than what you and I just covered. We'll get the experts here and we'll really dive deep into much more detail about each of the 3 individual subjects and what contact lenses might be doing for us in 5 years or 10 or 25 years. So going to go ahead and turn it over to you to close us out, and look forward to seeing your episode next month.
Thanks, Jason. I hope I can step in for you and do a good job. It's big shoes to fill, sir. So as we draw this episode to a close, just a reminder to look for prior episodes of Contact Lens Spectrum Live on the Contact Lens Spectrum page on Facebook and also on contactlensspectrum.com, as well as the transcripts of these shows that now appear on the printed version of Spectrum each month. So please do come along and join myself with James Wolfson on Thursday, August the 3rd at noon Eastern, where we'll be covering everything you want to know about comfort, solving the problems in your chair now, as well as looking into the future. So don't miss it, because honestly, it will be useful. There'll be absolutely guaranteed something that will be useful for you for the very next day that you're in practice.
Love it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.